That little overhang there. Let's see if I can move this up. As I find one of these, the second one is much easier. I'm going to use the yellow diamond. I've got a big overhang back there. Let me just check one thing. See, this football diamond is 2.5 millimeters. So when I drop that in there, I know I've got my access requirement for GentleWave taken care of. And you can see it's still a really conservative access. Okay, three out of 4. Okay, a little bit more of that. Do we have any estimated length?
20.5 plus, and then this one just a 21.25.
21 1/4?
Yes. Let's switch to the meridian piece. I want that apex located on this if I can. So I've got the setting on. Got the setting on 300 RPM, 2.5 Newton centimeters clockwise. This handpiece will do anything you want, but it does it with an apex locator in place, so that's why it's so handy here. We're going to put that 1506 in. We're hooked up, so this should tell me when I'm at length. Let's try the distal. I'd like to get the length because hopefully that'll stop bleeding so much. There's too much blood in here. Yeah. So. Put a file in here and take a reading out. Let me make sure I know where I am. You might be doing a bioceramic as repair material. Okay, relax your tongue. Thank you, God. That thing's bleeding like crazy, and my first thought is, oh, how nice it would be to perforate in front of 5,000 people. Not yet. Could happen. Let me just try it.
Can I watch?
Yes, please. All right. Everybody wants to see if you're going to hit the wall. Okay, let's put a 15 in. I want to see if I can get this thing to the terminus and flip the pulp off right there. Hopefully I'll put these because my apex locators are much used. So I'm at 23.5 millimeters here. Don't think I'm out the end. And I think this is about all the access opening we're going to need. Let's use it 08. Pulp tissue in that thing. Let's put a broach in there. Put a 25 broach. Yeah, I don't know if the canal's big enough for this, but let's try it. If you bend a broach, it will take on any shape of any canal. And so one size will do the trick for, you know, the majority of all the canals that are big enough to actually broach. So we want to rotate it. We're trying to wrap the pulp around this. It's already too decomposed, but we have removed a fair bit. Section. Can I have some lubricant? Let's see if we can do this. We're in the meso canals here. That'll stop bleeding with time probably. 1506. At least. Oh, apex locator's coming in. Getting closer. Let's take it out and clean it. Wash, please. So the urea peroxide foams with blood around. Dude, this tooth is really angry. You must have been put up with a lot. So this is such a cool handpiece. It turns on when it notices the electrical current. Stops. So she's telling me to check the tip. I did. Are you okay with that? If you give your assistant the right to throw the files away, she'll do a better job. She doesn't go $10, $10, $10. She goes, that thing's screwed up. What's going on? It just stopped right there, suction. Shorting. Let's see what the file shows us. There's not that much debris in the very tip of the file. That gives me some confidence that it's not binding there. If it's bleeding, that acts as lubricant. Okay? Because until you get rid of the bleeding, it won't. Lubricants are not going to help you much. Okay, we've already got 3 of the 4 canals mostly negotiated. The mesolingual I've got, but I had too much bloody foam all over to tell what's going on. Section. And while it'll remove the speared layer, it does encourage bleeding. So, do you have any 4% hypertonic solution that's in the fridge? Is it cold? Oh, nice. Okay. So if you want things to stop bleeding, put hypertonic saline on it. If it's chilly, it works even better. You need to find that out because after the end of GentleWave, you're going to almost always have bleeding to the canal just because you have an open capillary bed. So let's see what this looks like. This is Ryan Facer's trick, hypertonic. And we have had a couple of them that just immediately quit bleeding. You don't have to worry about locking the needle in there because it's saline. I think it's still bleeding. There's still some tissue there. Wow. And that is so off to the side. Can I have a paper point? And some hemostatic. I need to get it to stop bleeding so I can look for the other canal.
Would you use hypochlorite?
That can help. Yep. I'm going to put a little hemostatic on the paper point. That's the fastest.
Okay.
6. So this is 30% ferric sulfate. You can buy it as Cutrol or Moncel solution from a hospital pharmacy. And it is a lot more effective than, actually it's slowing down a little bit. It's a lot more effective than the 17% you guys need in your sulcus. You can't use 30%. It turns soft tissue into leather. But it's the best hemostatic for surgery I've used. See if we can find the end of this root canal. So we saw that the distal root, oh, I didn't show you this, it has 2 canals. It's got distance between them, so there's inevitably some tissue in that isthmus area that's giving us the continued bleeding point here. Let's take a radiograph. We're taking a radiograph because my apex locator is shorted out by the bleeding. How cool is that? This rubber dam frame. Okay, so I'm still a millimeter from length. Good to know. So this is longer than we thought. I'm going to reference by the mesobuccal cusped tip for this one. And looking at it from the side, I can see a little bit better. We're at about 23 and change, so add a millimeter, it's probably a 24 millimeter canal. We go back with it 08. I believe this is the canal that has a pretty good apical hook to it. And one of the things that's cool about heads up is if you're trying to look at the side of the tooth, it's really easy to do. You can't do that with octaves like this. So I can see where my reference point is as it's passing that cusp tip. Little tiny picking motions. Let's see if it's buckled. It has not. I'm going to put a little bend in this file and see if maybe there is an easier path. This is called a pro-magnus, PM. bit of bend on it. Don't need much, I don't think. So I'm doing a little tiny picking motion here, never more than 90 degrees in clockwise direction. All these small, I just dropped through. All these small files are broken by rotating more than 90 degrees in clockwise direction. Between 90 and 270, they all become apart as soon as you find the tip. You can shove them in the canal really forcefully and buckle them and roll them onto each other pigtailed 4 times. They'll always come out in one piece unless rotate more than 90 degrees in clockwise direction, so you gotta discipline yourself on that one. And I just got this little puppy to drop through. That's at 25. It's probably a ½ millimeter patent. I felt it drop past the patency point, and now it's in softer periapical tissue. This is a vital case, so he's got bone going right up to the end of the root. And let's see what the end of this thing looks like. Yeah, it did go around quite a bit of a curve, so let's curve the 10, see what happens. Okay, so there's the notch. I need to know where that little bend is, so put the notch direction I'm going to bend the tool. You need more straight on me so you can kind of look between my fingers, hopefully. And that's bleeding, so that counts as a lubricant. Here we are on the distal. Okay, so there's the bend. I turn it to the distal. Most curves and molar roots are to the distal, and I drop in. So I've got a little impediment there. It's probably still bleeding because I've got an isthmus too. Can I have a 10K? Is this a new one?
Yes.
Okay, so let's do a 10 file test. Sometimes you bend the file to get around the impediment the first file or two, and after that you don't need to. So if you want to know, just take a straight file that doesn't have a bend in it, put it down there and see if it goes to length, and now it does. So just this little tiny irregularity, you just need to get past it, get paid, it's gone. Okay, so we no longer have an impediment in the canal. Let's see what our bleeding situation is like. Gotta find a distal lingual canal. You could tell why it was so hard to get him out. Oh my gosh, finally. Wow, okay. These are awkward angles for lower molars. He still wants to bleed. Okay, so let's, oh wait, there it is. No, that's the easy. Or it should be. I'm going to tug back. Let's use the angle to explore, see if that helps. And then explore. See that? I got a catch there. You gotta have one of these bent. Buy 2 of them, bend one. It's awesome. I only started doing this 5 years ago. You know, I've gotten into more orifices than ever, and I know earlier where to look for them. It's really sweet. Technology that these companies are bringing to us is pretty amazing. There you see the GentleWave. Let's see if I can get a file in there. Cover this with a handpiece. Let's get some ultrasonics in here. So if that light's in there, that might be covering up the orifice. Let's see if that's the case. look for is right next to this one. Here comes the ultrasonic one. Okay, so when I can find an MB1, the MB2 is attached to it by an isthmus. So I'm going to the MB1, I'm going to just start cutting my way that direction instead of trying to look for it over here. Because it might, the canal might curve up and be very close to the other one. That's the halo surface. Okay, so there we go. Oh, yep, it's right under there. There's a little ledge there. You see that? I think we got it. Not to change the case, but it's right next to that. Yeah, look, it goes way over here. No wonder it's been bleeding the whole time. There's a huge wide tissue there. I don't need to open the cable surface anymore. I need to cut that undercut out. Yeah, way there it is. Oh my God, look at that thing. Looks like a small seal. I'll take another broach.
Does it matter if you do the ultrasonics dry versus wet field?
Ultrasonics
Yeah.
for, not if you have you're taking a pulp out. Yeah, it'll heat the tooth up. I wouldn't want to do it without a vital tooth. Okay. And you encourage the broach to drop because that means it's actually winding up the pulp, and then carefully pull it out. Let me see if I can get a straight on view. This is not the best microscope view. I like upper molars for these demos much better. Turn it right for me. There we go. Okay. Oh, that's our best shot. Look at that. I would never do endo without a microscope. Look at that big old wad of tissue there. We're talking it's kind of really yeah, there's no large portion of your body leaving the operatory without you today. But to us, it's like, oh my God, it's huge because we're looking at it at 16x for an hour. Sometimes you get done with April surgery, you look down there and you got all this, you go, I can't even see the sutures. Like, what do we do? Oh, nice. Look at that. There's a whole isthmus. I'm so happy right now. This is, I know, right? I think that looks good or something. That looks good. Let's get a new one. Yeah, I just about swallowed my tongue when I saw that bleeding happening over there. God, please God, not in front of all these people. Tomorrow, not today. Monday, Monday. Here's the deal about live demos. The worse time I have, the better it is for everybody that's watching. It's like my daughter used to say when she was feeling down, Dad, could you tell me a story when you got in trouble? Like, so cute. Well, you don't want to see everything work perfectly, right?
Nope.
You wouldn't know how to stop bleeding. It was kind of a shooter. So let's get that open. So we have a single broad orifice here with two canals splitting off from them. And I'm gonna go, I'm gonna do the two draw here with the LE diamonds, get these line angles tuned up. The first one, hopefully you can see. It's really hard to get the video angle here sometimes. That's not going to show very well. This is the biggest part of the pull chamber. The measles is almost nothing going on. Let's hyperextend this. No, you just need some artificial. Do you have another hair speed? Okay. We got hemostasis. Let's see if we can get some apex location done. Mesolingual canal. I'm only going to cut a half a millimeter at a time when I'm getting near length, because I've got these blades engaging almost all the way their total length, and there's my length. It just stopped. This handpiece. This is the coolest endo handpiece on earth right now. So our length in that one is, you can look at the side of the file and tell. It's only half a millimeter from full length. Full stop is 1.5 millimeters. You can see it's also at the 24 millimeter mark. Let's see here. This is the mesolingual canal. I'm going to call it 22.5 millimeters. Almost 23. That's the mesolingual cuss tip. Let's go to the mesobuccal. Okay, I'm just wiping this off with an alcohol gauze. And since we know what the other length is, I'm going to be a little short in this one. I find that holding my initial files a millimeter back from the other root canal can often result in a smaller terminal prep. Many times after the GentleWave is done, it's not necessary to do any further shaping. Right there, please. Okay, that just stopped. Let's give me that length. Mesolingual looked to be different length than the mesial butthole.
First line you gave me is mesial.
Yes. Cheated death by perforation, so let's not work around a lot of that. Okay. There we go. That's it. I guess first let's see that. And that length is the same. So 22 and a half to 23.
22 and a half
Uh-huh.
MDCT.
Yes. One more canal, we're ready to do GentleWave. Section. This will be- Tissue back there, that'll all be gone after you're done with the GentleWave. So we'll put some lube in there, get that just a lingual set up. Yeah, that other canal in the distal is really bleedy too. Section. Okay, well, GentleWave is happening. I'm going to show you some slides. So in my case, I've got some cases of the internal resorption that I treated with it, and they bleed the whole time. And we finish up and they stop. It's pretty trippy. I'll show you a couple of those. Yes, please. You'll see this reference a little bit easier. Okay, so that's where it's, once the stop is about 22 there as well. And it cuts further, so I'm a little confused. Let's see what happens this cycle. Okay, looks like about the same thing. Let's use the apex locator separately. I'll take a 15 up here. Yes, please, that'd be great. So she's gonna hold the apex locator, the handpiece, so I can see the dial. Almost there. It says I'm taste long, short. It's easier if you can dial it in and out because it's more accurate, so let's do it that way. And we're close enough for government work there, so we're gonna measure that. Call that distal lingual canal. By the mesial lingual cusp tip. Without the reference point, you don't know what the length is. next appointment. So here we have 22 and a half.
So distal lingual is 22 and a half, mesolingual custom.
Uh-huh.
And distal buccal is 24.
Let's see, when you do the, check the distal lingual out. It says on a little short. Short end. Ten going white. I can't see it. We're right there. Good length. We're gonna call this 23 and a half by the mesolingual custom.
And which canals?
That's the distal buccal.
Mesolingual custom.
Distal buccal is reference to the mesial buccal. And that is the mesolingual canal. Same 22 for the mesolingual, by the mesolingual custom. Then we have the mesial buccal. Just double checking here. It says on there. So these are all about the same. Yeah, 23.
23 and a half for the mesobuccal.
Let's build a platform. I already checked the diameter. I'm way easily placing the procedure instrument in here. It wants to be a millimeter. You know what? I do need to take a couple laps around here and make sure I don't have any undercuts. You don't want undercuts. See the undercuts right here. You don't want anything that could impede the exit of the fluids in this. And we've got a little bit of a bump, not hard to take off. But if you have pulp horns, they can interrupt this backflow and then reduce the negative pressure inside. This creates a negative pressure that makes the hypochlorite safe. So that's important. Okay. So we have a platform former here.
Do you want this stuff?
Yeah. One of the most important parts about this preparation is you've got to scrub the tooth with an alcohol cotton pellet, because even though it looks clean from air-water syringe, it's got a film there that will cause this to delaminate, to disattach, and we've got to have a really good seal here so we have a closed environment. Okay, that's looking pretty good. Let's wash. So we checked the platform former. Great, it fits in there nicely. We want this little part here to be the front. So here we go. We need to shoot it there. Usually, in my experience, having a little broader contact with any part of the tooth surface really helps.
Do you have to sponge that?
Yeah, I do. My friend Ryan Pacer also says, you're a fool if you don't put a sponge in the middle of that. Can I have a... So the material doesn't end up going into the full chamber. Okay. My plasma arc curing light. I love this thing. Instead of waiting 30 seconds, I can cure totally in 10 seconds. I understand, if you guys do bonding all day, how can you afford not to have a plasma curing light? It's like hours in the day, almost. Having sweaty hands. So now I've got to trim this to eliminate any interferences in the exit path. Just look inside here. Okay, take this. Okay, so you don't want to have any splash over the edge. Okay, not quite down here. Got to cut into this corner. Back, two in the front. Let's see what happens after we do some GentleWave. Okay, so we're going to get this set up, and I'm going to have we're going to get set up, and then I'm going to show some slides while we're waiting for it to happen. This is too long. We need to find out the depth to the pulp chamber floor minus a millimeter. So that one is a little. Here's one that's probably even with it, pretty close. Actually, it's just a little tight. This one is actually not that long a distance. Right, there's the first one that's in the center, so I take the next one. It'll be this guy here, which is a 7. So, there's a little sealing cap. It's a certain depth, a certain length. So sealing cap size 7. Pull it open. here is the procedure instrument, the molar procedure instrument. It has a projection that goes into the pulp chamber. The anterior premolar one doesn't have that projection. We're going to push on it on two sides with our thumbs to click this little guy on there. That's got to be absolutely sealed all the way around. Okay, so hold that a second. So, the only issue is there could be an entertainment channel to watch while we're doing this. That would be kind of nice to get a little bit monotonous. But let's see how it works here first. You want to see something interesting? Watch this. This is just water. Do you see that? That's the force that's pushing the solutions back in the exhaust and creating a negative pressure environment. Genius design. Okay, and the thing I'm really looking for carefully here is I don't want to see any bubbles in this, in the water, in those fluids here, because that means I have an air leak. And if I have an air leak, I don't have the right negative pressure. So, we've got an intact crown of this tube. Shouldn't be that difficult. That's looking great. Okay. I'll switch places with you. She's going to do this while I explain GentleWave to you. And I always get it set up, vet it, make sure everything's working the right way. And we can look at some images here. Can you get the camera around, or are you guys showing this on your side? So it's going to have a minute or two to make sure all the leakage checks work. There's going to be a 5-minute hypochlorite cycle, 30 seconds of saline rinse or distilled water rinse, then 2 or 3 minutes of ETA, 15-second rinse, and then it's finished. How are we doing this? Is there any leakage? Okay. You're having a little bit tough to get it flat there. Let me do it for you. I'll do it. Are you guys showing this image yet? Okay. So, let me set this off. Here's my first GentleWave case. It was a really simple premolar that had a lot of isthmus action in between those two canals. Even the simplest canals usually have some irregularity to them. We can do internal resorptive cases in single visits. It takes a lot longer. Sometimes I'm going to do an extra cycle just to make sure it's super effective. But look at the rich network of these little resorptive lacuna that got cleaned out. This isn't through regulatory. This is doctor gets to do off-label experimentation, and this is a patient that's a physician and agreed to everything we're doing. This is a canal that I could not find the MB2 in. I knew there was an MB2 and couldn't find it. So I was using my ultrasonics. It was fruitless. You can see I took another CT in the middle, and I'm cutting in exactly the right place. Here's the MB1. The MB, you can see it's off center. The MB2 should be right here. I can't find it to save me. Look at this. I went so far, I went past the curvature and 3 millimeters past the furcation. Did GentleWave, and there's the MB2 right there. It was so small, I still didn't get a file in, but it was bleeding after the multisonic cleaning. Here's the obturation. Here is that extra canal. So the MB2 was actually split off from up here. There's a little bit of thinning down here, but I never got a file in this, and that's a really dramatic result. How you doing over there? You need help? Make sure, yeah, it's tipping a little bit. There you go. Awesome. Okay, so one of my favorites. I knew there was an MB2 in there. I knew it had these communications between them. So just to test this out, I thought I can just retreat it if it doesn't work. I specifically stayed out of the MB2. I could see the orifice. I just let it do all the cleaning. I fit a cone in the MB1, and when I downpacked that, this whole trail of bioceramic sealer from its own terminus at the back, multiple ladder rungs back to the orifice level. Here's the mesial CT view, the MB2. It's got some irregularities in here, but that's pretty amazing to be able to clean that long of a canal without touching it with an instrument. So let's close off this and head back into the case. Oh wait, that's not the last slides. I want to show a little bit of mechanism of action here. Sorry. Can we go back to that? And I want to show you some other amazing cases. This is an irrigation failure. It was not patent to the end of the root canal. She had 9 months of pain from a 1 millimeter pulp stump. All I had to do was treat to the end of the root canal, and her symptoms were alleviated. So a pulp stump that small can make somebody miserable, and she ended up an opioid addict from 9 months of taking pain meds. That's all it took to continue that pain for her. This is another case, 2.5 millimeters short in the mesiolingual, overfills in the distal. Most people, most endodontists would say we have to do an apicoat to get rid of that surplus. Surplus doesn't cause failures. Under treatment causes failure, so I said, let me treat that. If I have to, I'll come back in and do surgery. We can always do that. Not only did I have 2.5 millimeters here, I had 3 millimeters of kind of a mid-mesial right here with its own exit point and blood supply. That guy had 18 months of pain in the endodontic zone the whole time. Some of these case results are so beautiful. It reminds me of Walter Hess models. This is Jim Smith. He's barely touching the end of these canals and letting the system do the work, because when we put files in there, we're likely to goof up and make some damage. This is a 3-month recall. That's dramatic healing. They don't have enough data to make claims for accelerated healing, but I will say this, the healing is fast. Here's a C-shaped molar. You can see the buccal fins connecting up with the distal and the isolated mesiolingual canal, which is typical. Another case by Jim Smith. We can make the apal prep the size of a tent if we know it's clean. And look at these. Here's a distal buccal canal with an accessory canal. MB, you might not even be able to get a file around that, but he got that taken care of as well. So this has really given endodontists a new excitement about the anatomy that we see and our capabilities of cleaning it out effectively. This is by Eugenia Johnson. That looks like a Walter Hess replica, not like our previous root canals. Here's an MB1, MB2 coming off of it, another 4 millimeters, distal buccal, accessory canal, multiple loops. I don't think any of us using this machine have seen canals like this, loops off the distal, little tiny accessory canals. This is my friend Tom McClammy. He's a Jedi Knight of endo. And we have a molar and an anterior premolar instrument. In a molar access, we have enough room to project the active element into the pulp chamber. With this, that happens up inside the anterior premolar procedure instrument, so the sonic energy is coming straight out. This you can use, back up here, you can cut an access as small as 1 millimeter in diameter and still clean it in the anterior tooth. So this GentleWave is not antithetical to minimally invasive endo, which is great because we need to make smaller shapes. The solution comes through this projection, this little tube, which has struts. I say it's kind of like a tuning fork. 9,000 psi hits this, goes back in the other direction, and this is what happens here. If you are standing right here without a helmet on, your hair is blown in front of you because there's a huge hydrodynamic pressure wave in that direction, and that pressure is what creates a negative pressure inside the root canal so that this thing can activate. When it hits this little impingement plate, which is curved, shoots the solutions back into the exhaust. This is like ringing it like a bell. And this is where the sonic energy comes from that pervades the whole root canal system. It wouldn't work if we didn't have hard tissue. And it also wouldn't work if we didn't have hard tissue that ended in soft tissue. It self-limits. When sonic energy hits hard tissue, it reflects and echoes. When it gets to the end of the root canal where there's soft tissue, it dissipates. So the analogy I heard is walking through a Galleria mall. It's really noisy. There's tile and glass and plaster. You step into a clothing store, it suddenly gets quieter because the sound is absorbed. How are we doing?
You got a battery? No?
So,
You need a car.
oh, just needs a cot. So she's already through the hypochlorite cycle. Let me just finish up here. Here's the anterior posterior, sonic energy generated inside of it, and it travels down. The fact that these canals taper helps concentrate the sound. It's like a hearing trumpet back before we had hearing aids. And when you look at the action of this in a clear replica, you see that actually the smallest canals, the furthest away, are the first things that get cleaned, and the last thing is the primary canal. Really, really trippy. Sometimes I can't find an MB2. I just do the first 2.5 minute distilled water wash, and it'll take a lot of this collagenous material away. This is one of the first cases I did that I would say has that GentleWave look, and that's a really anemic coronal shape with amazing stuff going on apically. You see a second distal canal here, again, never touched. So we used to cut huge shapes thinking that we were going to clean them, and we couldn't. Now we cut shapes to optimize obturation, and we can clean and fill it all. The 3D Shaper by FKG makes it. It's sold by Brasseler. This is really awesome for medium and large canals because it expands and contracts to the size of the canal. And all we want to do here is lightly shape it, get the crust off the canal walls, and then the GentleWave will do the rest of the work. And those are the cases I believe I wanted to share with you. Yep, that's it. Okay. And this entertainment section is completed now. How are you doing?
Yeah.
We're not too far away from being ready to finish your root canal. Expecting there will be bleeding. There has been through the whole case. But sometimes the bleeding is only there until the tissue gets cleaned out, and then it's no longer an issue. This just breaks off. The nice thing about this is if he runs out of anesthesia, we're about 30 seconds away from having him totally numb again. The only bad thing about this is if you take the rubber dam off and you're tired and you aren't paying attention and leave it in there, your patient might be out in the reception area and say, how long are we going to leave this in there? And what you have to do is get a really thoughtful look on your face, pull their lip down a little bit, and go, I think we can take it out now. Hemostat. I've had to use that twice. But intraosseous anesthesia is the there's no tooth that will not be numb. I've had teeth that I had to give 3 different sites of intraosseous anesthesia. That was only because it was severely inflamed. Turn to the right a little bit so we get that nice view. Okay, great. There's the distal. Let's put some cold hypertonic solution on it. Oh, we're gonna have some nice isthmi in this distal. Look, it's already slowing down the bleeding. Shoot, I don't think I ever saw the canals the whole time we were shaping them. They're so bleeding. I'm interested to see what they look like. Yeah, Ryan Facer, bless you. That's such an awesome, fast way. The other way to take care of the bleeding that happens is what's happening is everybody worries about it because usually it bleeds because you shove hypochlorite through the end of the root canal. Negative pressure environment is not possible. Okay? And so the bleeding is just, if I put a soda straw up to that access wound for 10 minutes, it would bleed afterwards. All the blood is being extravasated through the capillary beds and they're all opened up. So it's just like it's just a fresh wound. Doesn't mean anything else besides that. And if you aren't patient enough to let it stop bleeding, you can always add caffeine, which really helps. If you go have a cappuccino, come back, it'll be stop bleeding and you'll be ready to go. Let's gauge first. Let me see if I can fit a cone in a couple of these canals. We're getting too carried away.
Maybe like 15.
I'll have a 20. I'm going to fit 04 taper cones here. This is a 2004. Going here, touching the reference point, locking the pliers, pinching the cone. So I have that reference. Once I let go of this, I need to be able to reference it again. Make sure these aren't the 06s. They look a little more tapered. And we're at 22 millimeters for the distal lingual, which is 22.5. I can see there's a little tiny wrinkle on the end of this guy.
Very good point. Got it.
Okay, great. Take another. You know what, let me get these back to you. And we'll cut those. You want a cotton plier for every canal. You just put it on the side there, not have to find it and look for it. That was the distal lingual, correct? The first one?
Yes.
Okay, here's the distal buckle. Turn to the right a little bit. Thank you. And I would like to dedicate this live demonstration to Dennis Papp, a wonderful guy. He was our Zeiss rep for many years. He passed away a couple of weeks ago in an untimely aortic aneurysm. Anyway, he was just the best help with all the stuff we're trying to do. Our distal buckle is 23.5. So he'll be sorely missed, but he helped me get this microscope set up. So 23.5. It's exactly 23.5. I want to be a half short. Okay, so that's the distal buckle. Here's the mesolingual. Mesolingual length is 22 millimeters. And we're at 22. We'll take a half off there. That was the mesolingual. We have one more of the mesobuccal. Nice crisp tug back. Pull back, touch the reference point, pull it out, lock the pliers, pinch the cone, measure the cone, cut the cone. Get ready to fill.
23.
Length in the mesobuccal is 23 and a half. I'm at 22 and a half. Huh. Okay, we're a little short there. Let's see if we can fit a smaller cone. Yeah. We actually have 6. I have 4, she has 2. They last forever unless your teenage patient takes them as a roach clip, so just keep an eye on them. My son actually told me he was at UCSB at a party, and there was somebody that had one of the patient nap chain attached to his collar so he wouldn't lose what was attached to the other hand. I thought that was pretty fun. Okay, let's see what happens here. Nice. There we go. Now we're 24, a little wrinkly at the tip. That's okay, we're gonna cut that part off. We want this to be 23. That looks ideal. Let's try them in. Let's put them in and take a radiograph. Let's try the canals. Sometimes what I do, I was taught by Jim Smith to dry the canals and cement the cones and take a radiograph before they're obturated. Sometimes that's more helpful than taking cone to film and not knowing how far the sealer is going to move. I have a micro. Okay, so we're going to use a little microsection here. So we don't have to waste any more paper points than necessary. Okay. Always start from the distal. It's easier to put canals in the distal, and then after that the musial is almost impossible in the reverse manner. Okay, slowing down. Awesome. Okay, I'm going to use this to confirm length. Sealer. The wet part bends, the part that went out the tip, you can see it just barely went out. What does measure? Measures 22 millimeters. It's a 22 and a half millimeter canal. So we're going to put sealer in there. Measure. This may be bleeding in the canal, but let's see what the length of the distal buccal is. 23 and a half. Nope, we're not drawing to the length yet. sealer is actually a little hemostatic. It liberates calcium hydroxide when it sets out. And we're going to take that. We're at 23. We're about a half short. Should be just right. So sealer. Radiograph. I'm not get too carried away here. Okay, we're going to take a distal angle. Relax your tongue, please. Lift your tongue. Relax it now. It's a little shy. Okay, that's perfect. Oh, look at that. We've already got a little ladder rung there. And there, we haven't even sealed it. I'm going to go ahead and unpack these gloves. So this was mesially, that's the distal lingual. Okay, I'll take heat source. Turn to the right for me.
Fine clover or fine medium?
Fine medium. So turning this little guy on, and it's ready to go. Okay. Objective is not just to cut it, but to transfer heat, because I'm going to condense it. Here's the down pack. That needs to be straight. Straight your pluggers. Do we have a straight one? Yeah, you don't have to pre-fit your pluggers. We're not trying to down pack that far. So here's the first. Straighten that one out. The nice thing is when they're not bent, they're so much easier to get out of the canal than before. Okay, here we go. Fingers on the button. Wait till it clicks twice, that's 5 seconds. 10 seconds. To break it loose, put a little instrument under the edge of this, it'll pull out very simply. We're going to put a backfill cone in there. That was a 10 taper?
No, it's an 08.
It's an 08 taper. So I'm using an 08 backfill cone. Sealer goes in there. Why am I doing the down pack? Because we have two canals in the same route with a huge amount of isthmus space. And I want to push the sealer and gut aperture more than I would otherwise in a single canal. Okay, here comes a 10-second sustained condensation force. Firm condensation. I tell my patients it's going to be a lot. Fold the gut aperture back into the orifice level there. Let's down pack adjacent to canal. Here we go. Fingers off the button. Click. 5 seconds. Tick tick. 10 seconds.
Is still an 08?
Yes.
Sealer? Yeah, I don't like backfill syringes if I can avoid them. They were only better than what we did before we had. This is not going in there. Let's put the butter in there again. And now back up.
We need more soon.
Yeah. Don't cut it too fast or you'll pull the cone out. It stops after 4 seconds anyway. Here's the sustained condensation force. Okay. Can I have a small cotton towel? We're done with these canals.
Awesome.
Yeah, I just want to clean the cold chamber for a little bit so I can see. We're almost done with this case, you guys. That's not a bad time for a one visit molar. Lower molars, of course, are easier to treat. I think they're a little harder to show on a lot of demos.
Do you need another?
Nope. Okay, let's try the measles and see if we can get that set up. Let's just leave that there. Let it soak up. Okay, confirming length of the music button. Music buckle is 23 and a half. We're at 23. Perfect. Not yet. Let's try the other ones. Mesolingual is 22 millimeters. That might be a little bit long in that one. Never really good. Okay, let's put a cone in there to see what it looks like with sealer around it.
See?
Sealer. It tastes long. Have your down packets over there. Look at that, I think my cone. Sealer makes it hard to see the orifice. That's why you have to have as ideal as possible. There we go.
Oh, good. The mesial buccal is a taste long. Mesolingual is perfect. Take this little hammer out. Just tune a little bit off the end and we're good to go. Okay, more sealer. I'll need a 20. Let's get a different, not so far back on the tongue. So that's too much. I need it.
Chin up and towards the left.
Deep enough. Sorry, we gotta get another inch. Okay, steering off. Like a stable horse on the way back. Yeah. This is an 08.
Yes.
Just 3 millimeters is all I need. 5 seconds. Maybe that's 10 seconds. Break it loose, take it out. She's gonna hand me a sealer. So we can put a backfill cone in here. I like putting a backfill cone in here rather than down packing both of them because it gets a little complex in there. You know, wait, correct?
Yes.
And this kind of pressure is safe in roots because it's captured in gutta percha. It's distributing the forces. The most dangerous thing you can do in a root when you're trying to condense is use a spreader, and that is pushing on opposite walls of the canal. And you are in cold gutta percha, so that is really running a massive risk of root fracture. Okay, so let's do the down packing adjacent canal. That covers mesial buccal. Here we go, mesolingual. bed against the line angle. Heat it up for 2 seconds before you put the gutta percha. You just go beep, hit it, you just glue it, and then pull the thing out. Firm condensation stroke. Every time you start taking out some of the surplus, I'm going to heat this up. I'm going to use the edge of the plugger to cut it. You can grab these gutta percha points. And then just sneaking it sideways cuts it the edge of it really nicely. And it usually sets you about a half to a millimeter below the orifice, which I think is ideal. We're going to heat it up again. We're going to do the same thing over the diesel lingual. We're getting ready for our post-in-denied buildup now. I'm getting excited. Here we go. Get the isthmus, it won't cut if there's a continuous swath of gutta percha there, but we don't have that here. Getting gutta percha out of a whole chamber is ridiculously difficult. It's a simple thing. That out of there. Be careful. That's what I want to see. Nice flat surface I can put my glass iron against. Here's the distal. Get her straight into you. Turn the right, please. Thank you. Hey, Rob, you've been awesome. Perfect. Perfect teaching case and a great demo patient. So, thank you. You want to get a perch ahead of the plugger, not on the side of the plugger. If it's hot and sticky and you bury this plugger in there, you will have a void every time. This is going to be a little tougher to cut back here. So I'm going to just heat it up and pack it across the distal orifice. So just say we have to do it that way. Have it glued.
Small.
Big. I don't think it'll fit. Let's try it. There we go. Okay, radiographs. Radiograph. You like that better? This is 2 seconds. All right, we're right there. Let's take an easel angle. That'll split off the distals. Oh, nice. That's the view. That's the view. Let's get a little bit of a less shaky view. That was. There we go. So we've got a couple of them here. We're gonna stop this in while we get a 40 by 40 CT on him. We'll be able to show you in just a few minutes what it looks like in the meter and angle. Can we have a round of applause for our awesome patient? We're gonna do some boring stuff here like air abrade. You're better at air abrasion and bonding composite than I am, so I'll have you guys go back to the lab and I'll bring the radiographs over. Okay, thank you. Push the bottom button there.
And careful with the cord.
And watch the cord.
Yes.
Yes, go ahead, just step over the cord.
This is a Chance McCullough production.